So welcome to the Secrets of the Gita Revealed program. So today's topic is going to be karma. I mentioned yesterday that we will do Jivatma today, but I thought let's make it interesting and talk about karma, which is an intriguing topic. We all think we know what karma actually really means. But in reality, the word karma has many meanings as per the scriptures. So in today's session, we are going to understand what is karma, how does it work, how do we avoid it? Actually, can we avoid it or do we not have a choice at all? That's the question. But the trick is, the secret is that you can avoid karmic reactions. But to avoid karmic reactions, you have to do one thing alone. And we're going to discover what is that one thing you can do to avoid karmic reactions. So you may think, well, that's okay for the future, but what about all the karma that I've done in all my past lives? Do I have an opportunity to wipe out that karma? Answer to that question is, yes, you do. But you have to do one thing to wipe out all of your past activities. So how many of you want to know what the secret is of avoiding karma? I'm sure all of you would say yes, because who wants to suffer? Nobody wants to suffer. All of us want to enjoy ourselves all the time. As we were mentioning yesterday, none of us pray for suffering. There's one wonderful personality who actually offered prayers to Lord Krishna, requesting the Lord to keep her in suffering so that she could remember him. I am sure if I mention the name, all of you will know who this personality is. This personality, a great devotee of the Lord, is Kunti Devi, the mother of the Pandavas. After the battle was won, and the Lord, at the request of Yudhishthir Maharaj, stays in Indraprastha for many months until he tells the Pandavas, it's time for me to leave. My wives are waiting in Dwaraka. I cannot stay here forever. So at the time that the Lord gets onto his chariot and prepares to leave, at that time, Kunti Devi offers these beautiful prayers. The prayers of Kunti Devi are there in Srimad Bhagavatam. She is begging and pleading with the Lord. She says, now that the battle is over, now that we've got the kingdom, it's going to be so easy for us to forget you. As long as you were sending troubles my way, I had no choice but to remember and think about you all the time. But now that the matter is settled, how can I think about you unless you send me troubles, some more troubles? So Kunti Devi requests the Lord to keep sending sufferings her way just so that she can remember him. You and I would never offer such prayers. We think we have enough suffering on our plate than we can handle. None of us would ever approach the Lord and tell the Lord, can you send me some difficulties so that I can remember you? We will say, please don't send me any difficulties. I'll do my best to remember you. Whatever difficulties I have now is more than sufficient. I don't need any more. So this is the stature of a pure devotee who wants to remember the Lord and believes that when life is going well, we have a tendency to forget who the Supreme Lord is. Why? Because when things are going well, you don't need any help. Well, that's what you think. But when things don't go well, that's when our prayers get intensified. We call out to the Lord constantly. What are you doing to me? Why are you sending all these troubles my way? What have I done wrong? I'm such a good person. Why are you making me suffer this way, my dear Lord? Typically, that's how our prayers go. We may even say, it's not fair what you're doing to me. I am not giving anybody trouble, but why are you sending troubles my way? Typically, this is how a Jivatma normally prays, especially when they are in trouble. So today's topic is a very intriguing topic. I am sure a lot of doubts that you have in your mind about karma, maybe some misunderstandings that you have about karma will be removed after today's class. So let's all offer our most respectful and humble obeisances to this founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So I have some questions for you. You can unmute yourself. I will call your name and you can answer these questions. My first question is, why do we go to school? Or a university or a college? Yes, Jyoti.
School to learn new things, to enlighten about explore curiosity.
I cannot hear you clearly.
We go to school to enlighten ourselves. Like if as kids we have a lot of curiosity, like what happens if I do this? What happens if I do that? Like going to school, it helps us find out the answers to our questions.
So you go to school to get answers to the questions that you have because as a child, you
so,
are curious.
Usually in my school, like there was a science lab where you can just go and experiment.
Wonderful.
And we also do science kit activities, which helps us understand what happens if we do this. And also our teachers are the people who mainly guide us throughout our journey. And they're the ones who always scold us for doing bad things.
Yeah, so there are teachers who will correct you if you do something wrong, if you step out of line. School is a place where you can experiment. So through the process of experimentation, you learn. Very good. Thank you very much for your insightful answers. So my next question is, why do we go to a doctor? Pooja?
Yeah, hi ma'am.
Hi.
So if we are unwell or any disease is there, so for the cure or medicines, we go to the doctor.
Why can't we cure ourselves?
Sometimes we don't have that much knowledge, it require a holistic approach for end-to-end treatment, which doctor is specialized for that.
Yeah, so that means there are certain categories of people who become specialized in one particular branch of knowledge. Am I right?
Right, exactly, ma'am.
So in the same body that we have a heart, we have teeth, we have ears, we have throat. Do you ever find one doctor who is an expert on all parts of your body?
No, ma'am. There's different streams, different specialized doctor for a specific problem.
Because our body is such a complex machine. Nobody can understand it. So even after years of studying, doctors still haven't figured out how things operate within the body. And therefore, just to treat an earache, you need to go to an ENT specialist. So there are people, even when doctors, they have to specialize in various aspects of the parts, different parts of the body, isn't it? So if the physical body is so complex,
Yes.
can you imagine how complex the mind is? Where
Right.
should we go for treatment for the mind?
Uh, Psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist, yes. They may prescribe medications.
Yeah, but ma'am, this is my main concern, how to manage mind. It is
Yes.
troubling a lot since a decade. So I'm looking for answer for that.
You get an answer today. Actually, you'll get an answer in the next few minutes.
Sure.
My
Thank
next
you, ma'am.
question. Why should we go to the temple? Sindhu.
So that we offer our prayers, and also I always seek God in case I mean, I need anything, I just go and seek God. So I
Yes.
visit temple as, just for one, to ask whatever I need. It could be, physical, emotional, mental, anything. And also once I get that, I have to tell, thank you, God. So I go for both the reasons. And also
So
for some peace of mind.
for peace of mind, yes. So you go so that you can have a conversation with the Lord.
Yeah.
Then you go because you want to thank him.
Yeah.
Then you go because you want to get peace of mind.
Yeah.
Yes. So the word mandir, the word man means mind. The word mandir means it's a residence. So we go to various temples. You can go to a Vishnu temple, you can go to a Shiva temple, you can go to a Ganesha temple, you can go to Hanumanji's temple. This is the residence. If you go to a Vishnu temple, it is the residence of the Supreme Lord. So just like you go to the doctor or a hospital to get a cure, the word mandir, the reason temples are constructed in such a way, is to help you treat your internal diseases, diseases that are subtle, like psychological diseases, mental stress, anxiety, anger. These are all diseases of the mind. That is why the mandir is a place to treat your mind. So that's the importance of a temple or any holy place. Why should we chant the holy names of the Lord? So yesterday we read Adi Shankaracharya saying, if there is any one mantra that you chant, that one should chant the holy names of Lord Hari. Why should we chant the holy names of the Lord? Anybody?
What is the question, ma'am? Why should we chant the holy names?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that we get his vibrations on us.
Vibrations,
And
okay.
yeah, and also in terms of, you keep chanting regularly. What I've heard is that, we don't, since it's like, we don't know when we would, like, when our soul would move out. So we keep chanting regularly. That happens even at the time when we're about to exit this body. So that's why it is important to always remember him.
Very good. Thank you, Chitra.
To stay connected to God.
To stay connected to God. Okay, very good. So anybody knows the meaning of the word mantra? What does mantra mean?
Any word or sentences which has higher energy or higher vibration. I think so.
So mandir, we said, is a place where you go to treat the diseases of the mind. It's a residence of the Lord, and therefore it is at a higher energy level, and therefore you go to the temple to treat ailments related to the mind, to find peace of mind. So mantra means, the word mantra is a set of names that you can chant that releases your mental anxieties. The word tra means to release. The word man is mind. So anything that you chant that helps you reorient your mind to something else and takes your mind away from the things that are causing anxiety and stress for you. Such a thing is called a mantra. But preferably, the mantras we should chant should come from the scriptures. And for the Kali Yuga, the mantra that is recommended for all of us to chant is what is called the Maha Mantra. The Maha Mantra is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Because in Kali Yuga, it's very difficult to worship the Lord. It's very difficult to do meditation. It's very difficult to perform yajnas. So when you attend our advanced Bhagavad Gita classes, you will discover why in Kali Yuga, the Acharyas say, if you at all have to practice one thing, you should practice Maha Mantra meditation. So I want one of you to read the definitions of karma that I picked up through a search on Google. So can somebody read the first box, Pooja?
Yes, ma'am. Karma, it is divided in two parts, fear-based and love-based. You reap what you sow. Karma is the consequences, both good and bad, that are brought to you based on your actions, good and bad. You are judged to your actions. Then love-based, karma is a gift that brings you lessons for your soul's personal growth and will continue to bring these lessons back around until you have learned them.
Very nice. Thank you. So here you can view karma in two ways. Either you do the right thing out of a sense of fear of the consequences, or you do the right thing out of a sense of love and care and concern, not just for yourself, but also for others. Then in the middle, the chart says, or the slide says, the image says, how people treat you is their karma. But how you react to their treatment is your karma. Yeah. And the one on the bottom is giving you a warning. Karma has no problem getting back in touch with you when need be. So you may think, I have done some action, I have not faced the consequences, I have escaped the consequences. Some point in the future, you'll have to suffer those consequences. We're going to talk about the laws of the Lord. So let's take an example. Some of us have a vehicle and we drive. And most of us would have gone to some driving school that teaches you the do's and don'ts of driving on a road, not just to protect yourself, but also to protect others. So we know that when we come to a traffic signal, when the signal turns red, it means you are supposed to stop. Because when it is red for you, it is green for somebody else. So you have to come to a stop if you want to protect yourself and the lives of others. Some of us may get into the habit, especially if it is early morning, or if we are in a hurry, red light, chalo, let's just cross it. So what happens if there is no policeman? You think, I've escaped. So there is a man who ran a red light. He didn't realize the police was around and had witnessed this. The police followed him, pulled him over, and they asked him, why did you run the red light? Did you not see it? And the person sitting in the car said, I saw the red light, I just didn't see you. So sometimes we think we can do what we want. As long as nobody is there to watch us and catch us doing something wrong, we think we can escape. So in this case, the person told the police officer, I knew it was the red light. I knew what I was doing. I just didn't know that somebody was watching me and that I would get caught. When it comes to the laws of man, you can escape like this. And you're lucky if you escape, or you think you're lucky because you have escaped. But when it comes to the laws of the Lord, you can never escape. The laws of nature are so strict, you have to do the right thing every single time. Any little error, mistake that you make that violates the scriptures, you have to pay the price. Now, let's say somebody broke the law and they are thrown in jail because, let's just say, whatever they did deserved a jail term. How can that person get out of jail? One, if they are a good inmate and they have served their time, then the government decides, well, they've served their time, they've been punished enough, let us release them. But some of us may be unfortunate enough to get a life term in the prison, which means we have to live the rest of our lives in this prison. So what's the hope for such a person who's been punished to stay in prison forever? The only hope is if the head of that country or that state, in our case, I believe it is the president. The president can either commute your sentence, lower your punishment, or can forgive you and release you from jail. This is called pardon. If you're pardoned for your activities, but there's only one person that can take that decision, and that's the head of the state. So when we violate the laws of nature, the various demigods who are overseeing the various aspects of how this material universe functions have to mete out that punishment. There is only one person that can reduce your sentence or can pardon you. And that person is Lord Krishna. So now connect the dots. Why do we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra? Because it's only Krishna that can forgive you for your past misdeeds. Nobody else. The demigods cannot forgive you because they don't have the authority. So similarly, in a government, other heads of various departments, they cannot make a decision on the prison term. It's only the president. So even in life, there is only one person that can forgive you for your past karmas. And that is Lord Krishna. Okay. So what you put out will come back to you in unexpected ways. Give only what you don't mind getting back to you. So the way we lead our lives is going to determine our future births. So this is the importance of us understanding karma. Now the Lord tells Arjuna, my dear Arjuna, karma is very difficult to understand, very difficult to figure out the intricacies of karma and how it operates. When you get rewarded, when you get punished, in what sequence things happen, which activity leads to which punishment, which activity leads to a good result. These things are very hard to figure out. So in shloka 16 and 17 of the 4th chapter, titled Jnana Yoga, Transcendental Knowledge, the Lord is telling Arjuna as follows. Kim karma kima karmeti kavayopyatra mohitaah tatte karma pravakshyami yajñatva mokshase shubhat. The Lord is saying, even the most intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune. So Krishna is going to reveal the secret of avoiding karmic reactions. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam bodhavyam cha vikarmanah akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi. The Lord is saying, the intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. So the Lord is telling Arjuna, you should know what kind of activities lead to punya. You should know what kind of activities lead to papa. And you should also know what kind of activities result neither in punya nor in papa. So we want to be in that third category. We don't want to do any activities that is going to cause us punya, nor do we want to do any activities that is going to cause us to accumulate papa. We want to be engaged only in those activities where we will not have punya or papa accumulating. That is the secret. That is a secret, but still we don't know exactly what that means. Yes. So let's first understand how this universe is constructed, how we take birth. Why do we see so much inequality all around us? How do the laws of the universal government of the Supreme Lord works? And what does Lord Krishna want you to do? And what does he not want you to do? Because if you understand this particular session, then you will always do the right thing. So look at this picture. You have somebody who's very handsome. You have somebody who's ultra rich. You have somebody who's very powerful, somebody who's very weak, somebody who's good looking, somebody who's not, somebody who's poor. Why is it that each one of these individuals were born under different circumstances? If we have to think about this in the form of a race, let's say there's a 100-meter race going on. It's like one person is standing 25 meters ahead, one person is standing 25 meters behind the starting point, somebody else is at the starting point, somebody else is 90 meters into the starting point. He only has 10 meters to go before he wins the race. So why is it that in life we see so much inequality? That means when we start the race, are we all at different starting points? If we are at different starting points, is it fair? So we have to ask ourselves this basic question. Why is there no equality? Why some people go through extreme suffering and some people have to not worry about anything at all? They seem to have a very cushy life. What's the reason behind that? Why do we have different starting points? That's the question. Next question is, does that mean the Lord is partial? That's the first question that arises in us. That's the first doubt in us. Is the Lord partial? Of course, the answer to that question is he's not partial. So let's look at how the court of law operates. When you violate a law, you go in front of the judge. You have an attorney. The opposing side has an attorney. Sometimes the opposing side is the government who's brought a case against you. If it is found that you are guilty of violating the law, the judge is going to simply apply the law and give you the punishment as per the law. So one person may go in front of a judge and get thrown in jail. Another person may go in front of a judge and may be rewarded because somebody else violated the law. But we can never say that the judge himself or herself is partial. Because what are they doing? They're simply applying the law as equally as humanly possible, considering that humans have so many faults. So similarly, the Lord also simply applies the logic of karma. Now, keep in mind, the Lord has already said karma is very difficult to understand. So, but the laws of nature are so stringent. The Lord simply applies the law and you get rewarded or punished accordingly. So just as the government operates, the Lord's government also operates the same way. So that doesn't mean we can say that the judge is playing favorites. But that's what we always think that the Lord is doing. We think the Lord is playing favorites. We refuse to understand that we are getting rewarded or punished according to our own actions. The Lord had nothing to do with your actions. Your actions stemmed from your desire. Your desire is in your control. There may be some very difficult circumstances where this is difficult to understand how this works. But nobody gets punished under the Lord's laws without having done something in the past. And that past may be a previous birth. So if you know the story of Dhritarashtra, first of all, he was born blind. Second, he had 100 sons. In one of his past lives, he happened to kill 100 baby chicks belonging to a mother. And he took the extra step of blinding each one of them. To suffer the consequences of this act in some past life of his, he asks Krishna, but why did I have to go through so many births before I face the punishment of being blind and seeing my 100 children being put to death? Why didn't you punish me right then and there? Why didn't you punish me in the very next life? Why is there such a huge distance between when I committed the activity and when I am getting punished? The Lord tells him, in order for you to be punished because you killed 100 baby birds, you had to have 100 sons. To have 100 sons, you have to have so many lifetimes of doing good in order to get 100 sons before you could actually be punished. So that's how severe the laws of nature are. And we do not know how it operates. But this question was answered by Lord Krishna when Dhritarashtra asks him, what did I do in my past life to suffer like this? And Krishna tells him, this is what you did. So, justice from the Lord's perspective is impartial. Nobody suffers because they didn't do something in their past life. So each soul is responsible for his own vices and virtues and their concomitant joys and sorrows. So if you did good in the past, you will experience that in a future life. If you did bad in the past, that also you will experience. But the distance between when you committed that activity and when you actually experience that result, that nobody knows. Only the Lord knows. So every time you're performing activities in this life, you're depositing into your bank account good deeds and bad deeds, good deeds, bad deeds, good deeds, bad deeds. Every time you take birth, you're doing a withdrawal, a little bit of the good deeds, a little bit of the bad deeds. How much withdrawal is happening, that is decided by the Supreme Lord. It's not decided by you. Therefore, the scriptures say we have to be very, very careful in our activities. We cannot just do whatever we want and think we're going to escape because nobody is watching. The Lord is sitting within you as Paramatma. Silently, he is witnessing everything. So what's the real answer to these questions? We heard yesterday the peace formula, that the Lord is very impartial. He wants you to be well. He wants you to be happy. He does not want you to suffer. If we say that the Lord is a cruel Lord, then we have to say every parent on this planet Earth is a cruel parent. But at some point or the other, a parent would have chastised their child, scolded their child, punished their child. Generally, parents do not punish their children without reason. Yes, there may be some bad parenting somewhere. Generally speaking, a good parent does not punish without reason. Similarly, the Lord never punishes you without reason. However, it is not that the Lord wants you to suffer. He wants you to learn from your sufferings. At the same time, the Lord is equal to all living entities, except for those who are his devotees. Special mercy is given by the Lord to those who worship him. Therefore, what is most important for you to understand is that we should be God conscious and not karma conscious. We should not worry about what is it that we did in the past that's causing us to suffer today. Rather, we should be worried about what does the Lord want me to do and not do. So at all times in our life, even when we are suffering, we should think about the Lord. What is it that the Lord wants me to do and what is it that he doesn't want me to do? But who is going to give you this manual of what you should and should not do? It's going to come from Guru in the form of instructions. It's going to come from Shastra, from our scriptures. It's going to come from other devotees who have read the scriptures and who can teach you and tell you, do this, don't do this. So still you may ask, why so much discrimination? Very simple. Whatever actions we perform, there is a reaction to it. There is no avoiding this. And if you remember Newton's third law, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So if we do good, good things will happen to us. If we do bad things will happen to us. So it's a very simple law that can be applied. So who is the witness? We said that person running the red light, he thought he was running the red light and nobody was there. But suddenly out of nowhere, the police came. He just didn't see the police. But you don't have to worry about who's the police here. Police is sitting within you only as Paramatma. The Lord says, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto. I am seated in the heart of every living entity, O Arjuna, as Paramatma, and I'm quietly watching what is being done. So that is why we said, when it comes to the laws of nature, you cannot escape because the Lord himself is sitting as a witness. So who decides for us what actually happens to you? That decision is taken by the Supreme Lord in terms of how you should be rewarded, how you should be punished. Under the supervision of the Supreme Lord, according to his action, the soul is given a particular type of body, along with which comes different karmas. So what you're doing today is going to determine what kind of body you get in your next life. And we said yesterday that the human form of life is very rare. And it's only the human form of life that you can explore spirituality. And if we don't take advantage of the fact that we have this human form, then we are considered to be very unintelligent by Lord Krishna. He says, anybody who doesn't understand this is a fool. So human life means applying our intelligence to understand how this world operates and how to make sure that we don't fall into this constant trap of karmas and karmic reactions. Yes. So now, this is also coming directly from the scriptures. So you may think, oh, what's the chance that I will go get an animal body, or I may become a tree, or, I may become something else, a bird, a butterfly, a centipede, a cockroach, who knows? But do you know, the Shastras say that there are 84 lakh different bodies that you can get. Do you know how when you go into prison, what does the government do? They take away your regular clothes and give you some special attire to wear. Sometimes it may be orange, sometimes it may be striped, but definitely when you go into prison, you cannot take your regular house clothes and wear it there. Because that's an identity that you have violated the law. Therefore, your clothes change. Well, guess what? The Lord has 84 lakh different types of clothes that you can wear when you come into this prison and take birth in this material world. He says, Acha, you want to enjoy yourself this way? Here is the body of a bird. Here is the body of a fish. Here is the body of an animal. So in human society, maybe there may be 2 or 3 different types of varieties of clothes for prisoners. But when the Lord imprisons you through your karmic reactions, he gives you a big wardrobe. You don't have to go shopping in Amazon or anywhere else, or Myntra or wherever, Forever 21, don't worry. The Lord has 84 lakh different types of bodies that you can take when you violate his laws. That many different outfits you can wear. This is how the Lord's law operates. So, Shastras say that there are 84 lakh species of life, and hence we can occupy any one of these 84 lakh bodies in our future births. That's how precious the human life is. If we don't take advantage of this human life, then we pay a very heavy price. Human life we have the ability to discriminate, which means we understand what is right and wrong. We can use our intelligence to apply it and avoid difficult situations. Hence, we always have a choice. Do I perform good deeds or do I perform sinful activities? Or better, we want to perform the third kind of deed, which Krishna talks about in that shloka 17. What is that? That is called Sukriti. So anybody who performs devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not incur karmic reactions. That is Krishna's special mercy. And now that you know that this is Krishna's special mercy, it would be quite foolish if we don't take advantage of it. After learning the secret and how easy it is to apply it in our personal lives to take advantage of this special mercy of the Lord, it would be quite foolish not to take advantage of this exit clause that you have from unrelenting karmic reactions. So there is karma, there is vikarma, and there is akarma. So now we'll get to some definitions. First, let's understand what is karma. As we mentioned, the word karma has many different meanings. There are 4 meanings to the word karma. The word karma means any actions that you do. If I'm walking on the street, I may be killing ants and insects. When I'm watering a tulsi plant, I'm doing a good deed. But when I'm walking on the street, unknown to me, I'm killing insects. So I'm doing bad deed. So every day we're doing a combination of good deeds, bad deeds, good deeds, bad deeds, good deeds, bad deeds. So all of these activities put together is called karma. The reactions that we get for our actions is also called karma. So that means action and reaction, both of them, the word used is karma. And the entire system of action and reactions and the process and the code that is used by the Lord to figure out what is the type of benefit or punishment that person gets, that is also called karma. And the 4th meaning of the word karma, technically speaking, it should be sukarma. Anybody who performs good deeds that leads to punya, that is called sukarma. So now you know the different meanings of the word karma. One is any and all actions that we perform. The other one is the reactions to the actions that we're going to get sometime in the future. The third is the entire system of how this operates, actions and reactions, actions and reactions. That is also called karma. Any good deeds that you perform is also called karma or sukarma. So the Lord has used 3 terms in that particular shloka that we read. Karma, vikarma, and akarma. The Lord is telling Arjuna, if you know how these 3 things operate, then you can avoid all kinds of misfortune. So the Lord is giving us the secret to success. So here, when the Lord is using the word karma, he means you are doing good deeds and therefore the result of it is going to be punya. Vikarma, you are doing bad deeds and the result of that is going to be papa, which you have to experience, just like Dhritarashtra had to experience after hundreds of lifetimes. And the word akarma means you are doing all kinds of activities, but for some reason, you don't suffer the consequences. You don't get papa, nor do you get punya. How is that possible? That's possible when you worship Lord Krishna, because that is his special mercy. Those who worship him, it doesn't mean that if you worship Krishna, you can do whatever you want and you will not suffer the consequences. There are different set of rules once you become a devotee of the Lord. So it's not an easy way out in the sense that you can keep violating the laws of nature and there are no consequences. So Krishna is simply saying, understand how this works. I've explained now to you how it works. You do what you want. So we have to understand that everything that happens to us may not be good, but ultimately everything that happens to us is for our ultimate good. What is that ultimate good? When you're suffering, you begin to ask questions, why am I suffering? And this is the beginning of your journey of spirituality. So you are evolving spiritually because you don't want to make the same mistake again. So ultimately, the sufferings that you experience actually helps you avoid future sufferings, helps you avoid making the same mistakes again. Now, what was Arjuna's problem? We discussed yesterday that Arjuna said, "Oh, Krishna, I can't kill my guru. I can't kill my grandfather. I'm going to incur so much sin. Thousands and lakhs and crores of people are there on this battlefield. If I kill all of them, what will happen to the women? Who will take care of the women?" Arjuna asks. I know I'm going to go to hell if I kill all these people on the battlefield. Who will protect Dharma if there are no elderly people in every single house to guide the family members on what's right and wrong? How can you expect me to enjoy the kingdom after I kill my own family members? What's the point? So like this, Arjuna gives 5 reasons why he should not fight. And therefore, Arjuna thought, if I don't fight, I can avoid karma. Because I'll end up not killing anybody. And therefore, there is no karmic reactions for me. And Krishna very quickly tells Arjuna, you are wrong. If you don't do your duties and responsibilities, O Arjuna, you may think walking away from the battlefield is the right thing to do. But please understand, when you walk away from the battlefield, you're violating your duties and responsibilities as a Kshatriya, and therefore this will result in vikarma. So on the one hand, you and I may think, what's wrong if we avoid killing, unnecessary killing? But on the other hand, the Lord is saying, if you don't kill, you're not protecting Dharma. And by not protecting Dharma, which is your core duty and responsibility, you are committing an even greater sin. And lastly, Krishna says, because I am asking you to fight. And if you follow my instructions and fight on my order, you will not suffer any consequences of fighting. Even though you may be killing hundreds and thousands and millions of soldiers on the battlefield, you will not suffer the consequences of that because you are fighting to uphold Dharma under my instructions. So Arjuna's miscalculation here was that fighting means entanglement, no fighting means no entanglement. Krishna is saying, you're wrong. No fighting means entanglement. Fighting means no entanglement. Why? Because Arjuna is a Kshatriya. As a Kshatriya, he has certain duties and responsibilities. As per Varnashram, Krishna expects you to do your duties and responsibilities. If I'm a wife, I have duties and responsibilities as a wife. If I'm a daughter, I have duties and responsibilities as a daughter. As a mother, I have duties and responsibilities as a mother. I cannot overlook these duties and responsibilities. So Krishna is very, very particular. Throughout the Bhagavad Gita, he will repeatedly tell Arjuna, you must perform your duties and responsibilities. You don't have a choice. Difficult times may come. That doesn't mean you can run away. You have to tolerate the circumstances and continue to do your duties and responsibilities. So then Krishna talks about Karma Yoga. So what is Karma Yoga? Karma Yoga is nothing but doing your duties and responsibilities as per the scriptures and not worrying about the results. So one who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is not affected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. Krishna is using this analogy of a lotus leaf. If you've seen a lotus leaf, a water simply just is like a globule on that lotus leaf floating around. So Krishna is using this analogy to tell us, if we do our duties and responsibilities to please the Supreme Lord, we will not incur negative consequences. So Krishna's expectation is that any work that we do should be performed out of a sense of duty and responsibility, and not because you're going to get a particular outcome. He tells Arjuna, don't worry about the outcome, because the outcome is not in your hands, it's in my hands. What is in your hands? In your hands, you have the ability to perform your duty and responsibility. So make sure you're always focused on your duty and responsibility. And Krishna says such a person is very wise. And in the third chapter, the Lord talks about how all of us have to work to maintain family order, to maintain individual order, to maintain social order, to maintain cosmic order. We also have to work, Krishna says, to set a good example for others. So Krishna says, if you run away from the battlefield as a Kshatriya, exactly what kind of a leader are you? You're setting the wrong example for others. Society will collapse if people do not fight to uphold Dharma. Which means if you're in a leadership role, which all of us are in leadership roles in different ways, society will collapse. As we were saying, the whole trick here is that if I perform my duties and responsibilities very nicely, and if you perform your duties and responsibilities very nicely, and we do it all to please the Lord, there should be no wars, no conflict, nothing. All of us should simply go back home, back to God from where we came. And lastly, Krishna says, we must all do our duties and responsibilities because it helps you advance spiritually. But each of us will make spiritual advancement at a different pace. Some of us will accelerate. Some of us, it may take multiple lifetimes. Krishna says that's okay. But continue to do your work out of the sense of duty and responsibility, and then you will come eventually to the path of spirituality. So all of us must work to maintain individual order, social order, cosmic order as an example for others to follow. And eventually we have to work, do our duties and responsibilities so that we can grow spiritually. Right? So now we're going to use a cricket board analogy to explain why we have different starting points. So let us say you don't know anything about the game cricket, and there is a match going on, and you step into the stadium and you see a scoreboard. And you know there are two teams playing. Let's say it's India and Australia. And you walk into the stadium, into the grounds, and you don't see that the scoreboard is 0-0. You see that India's score is 250 runs. Australia's score is 0. But then both teams are on the ground. How do you understand this? Well, if you understand how the game of cricket operates, there's a difference between a one-day match and a test cricket match. In a one-day match, each side plays one innings and that's it. That decides the winner. in a test match, you could play more than one innings. So therefore, the starting point is different. So if you really didn't understand how cricket operates, you would think that the umpire is being partial. He's given India 250 runs and he's given Australia 0 runs just because he felt like it. So that means the umpire is biased. The other way to look at it is, oh, just by some fluke, India got 250 runs and Australia has just 0. It's just a chance. But the real understanding is that one team has already played 1 innings, and that's the score that is reflecting on the board. And therefore, we all do not have the same starting point. So let's apply this to how it operates in real life. There are some people who believe that everything in this life is just happens by chance. And therefore, they also believe they only have one life to live. So why does it matter whose rule, whose laws? I can do whatever I want. So what happens to those people who are suffering? Should they just accept that that is just by chance? They got a negative score. By chance, somebody else got a positive score. That doesn't make sense. It means there is no cause and effect. And yet, in our entire life, we see cause and effect all around us. If I put my hand in the fire, I'll get burnt immediately. There is also cause and effect in other ways. If I drink alcohol every day, I may have some symptoms initially, but it takes a long time before it develops into liver cirrhosis. So some actions have immediate reactions. Some actions that we undertake have long-term consequences. You may not see those consequences right away. But there is always a cause and effect, always. So for those who believe that the umpire is biased, essentially you're saying the God is biased. God has just decided to make Ambani ultra rich and somebody else dirt poor. So that means the Lord is not partial, partial. The Lord discriminates. So why would you and I want to worship such a God that discriminates? Nobody will worship a God who just willy-nilly decides one person should benefit and one person should be punished. So it's like you all go to school, you're all being taught physics, and at the final exam for physics at the end of your class year, the most brilliant student is given the most difficult question paper. And different students get different question papers. But that's not how the Lord operates. It's very difficult to learn to love a Lord who we think is actually discriminating. That means the Lord's will cannot be understood and therefore just forget loving God. Why should even worship such a God if the Lord is unjust? So even that doesn't make sense. So the only explanation for the different scores is that, just give me a second, I think I hit some button. Yes, so the only explanation is that karmic reactions decide the scoreboard. That's why we all have different starting points. The starting point is decided by the previous innings, by your previous lives. What all karmas you've done in the past decides what kind of birth you take this time. So if Ambani is born super rich, he must have done a lot of punya in the past for which he is benefiting. If somebody is born really poor, Well, they are suffering the consequences of something that they did in the past. So our destiny is determined by our activities today and our desires. So actually, this karma is very logical. It is not a devious thing set up and designed by the Supreme Lord. So there are two things that decide your future birth. Your desires today and your past activities. The combination of these two determines what kind of body you get in your next life and what kind of karma you're going to experience in your next life. But the Lord has already given you the secret. The secret is to worship Him. It's as simple as that. And chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the perfect way of worshiping the Lord constantly. So why is there such a distance between our activities and the consequences? Well, sometimes there is an immediate cause, there is a remote cause, and the ultimate cause. If I put my hand in the fire, that's instant karma. If I eat food that is spoiled, it may take a day before I experience indigestion. So it's something that I did in the past, for which I'm suffering consequences a little later. And we said alcoholism is like delayed karma. You can keep abusing your body with alcohol. In the initial stages, you don't experience the consequences, but eventually you will. Your body is going to degrade. Your liver is going to suffer. So what is important for us is the ultimate cause. Ultimately, why are you and I suffering? It's because we are disconnected from the Supreme Lord. That's a simple answer. It's because we don't have the Supreme Lord in our lives. We have ignored Him for too long. And the more we ignore Him, the more we are going to suffer. So we have to focus on the ultimate cause. The ultimate cause of our suffering is our disconnection from the Supreme Lord. We've disconnected the Wi-Fi and we're trying to operate without it. So this is how karma actually functions. So now let's say you're suffering. What should you do? So the question is, when bad things happen, what do good people do? There are three options for you. Depending on what is the level of your suffering, Krishna's immediate advice is tolerate it. If you know how this operates, you know that something has been done in the past. The best thing to do is to just tolerate. What is the next best thing if you can do it? Mitigate. Mitigate means do something to reduce that suffering. Operating within the boundaries of the scriptures. Emigrate, which is the best option. Emigrate means rise above your sufferings and connect with the Supreme Lord. And once and for all, emigrate from this material universe and go into the spiritual universe. These are the only three options all of us have. We learn to tolerate our sufferings. If we can, we try to mitigate our sufferings. Ultimately, we have to emigrate from our sufferings. What does emigrate from our sufferings means? We need to stop this cycle of birth, death. That is emigration. We need to put a stop to this cycle of birth and death. But ultimately, we need to recognize that every single situation in our life is an opportunity for us to grow spiritually. So what curtails your free will? Now we'll come to that question of your independence and free will. The more you violate the laws of the Lord, the less free will that you have. The more you are obedient to the Lord, the more free will you are given. But the Lord never takes away your free will. Never. So what determines the level of independence and free will that we have? It's our past activities. So in reality, your freedom is determined by your connection with the Supreme Lord. The more you are disconnected from the Supreme Lord, the more your free will is curtailed. That's how the Lord actually mets out the consequences of what we've done in the past. So as we said, we should be God conscious. We should not be karma conscious, because if you're karma conscious, you'll always be, I'm a victim. You'll never try to get out of it. So what is the Lord's instruction? Just like the Lord said, fight because I am asking you to fight, we should do our duties and responsibilities because Krishna is asking us to do our duties and responsibilities. That means anything that we do, we should do to satisfy the Supreme Lord. So let's look at the soldier analogy. Let us say a man is a soldier in the army and there is a war going on. He fights the war very bravely. He kills people on the battlefield. And the government wants to recognize him for his killing. What do? They give him a Medal of Honor. But when do they give him a Medal of Honor? When he has fought on their behalf. Let's say that same man who's a soldier, the war has stopped. He's living at home. He's still a soldier. He gets into an argument with his neighbor and kills his neighbor. That same government will come and arrest him and punish him and throw him in jail. The difference being very simple. If you work for the government, you get rewarded. If you work against the government, you get punished. If you work for Krishna, you get rewarded. If you work against Krishna, you're going to get punished. So Krishna is saying, if you understood this, then you'll be free from all misfortunes. So Krishna is saying, don't get entangled in work that takes you away from me. Do the kind of work that actually pleases me. So which means the question you and I should ask ourselves is, what can we do to serve Krishna? Rather than asking the question, how can I avoid karma? Although Krishna has told us how to avoid karma, our mood should be, how can I serve my Supreme Father? What will make him happy? What will make Krishna happy? That's what we should be focused on. And therefore Krishna says, when you're fighting for the right cause, there's nothing you need to worry about. Therefore, we need to focus on our action and not on the reactions. If we focus on the right thing to do, we don't have to worry about the consequences because Krishna will take care of you. So do your duty, don't focus on destiny. When the results come, accept it, don't agonize over it. So the simple mantra is, rather than fearing karma, we should have faith on the Supreme Lord, Krishna. So this is the essence of karma. And with this, we will conclude our session today. I am more than happy to take any questions. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.